Hello, fellow bookworms. I hope you're having a splendid day. Welcome back to a new episode from Ekra, your book reviews podcast where we explore and delve into the world of books together. I am Isra, your companion in this literary journey, so get ready to embark on a new adventure and dive into the pages of a new masterpiece. Joining us today on this adventure is my dear friend Thuy from Vietnam and now residing in the US. I had the pleasure of meeting Thuy 3 months ago on an English practicing platform, and through our discussions about various topics, I discovered her love for languages and her love for books. It was her who recommended the novel that we'll be discussing in this episode, which is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. So, Thuy, it's truly wonderful to have you here. How have you been and how's everything going for you?
Hi. First of all, thanks for having me today, and I'm doing very great. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. First of all, I owe you a big thank you for recommending this book because I have high standards when it comes to novels, and it's not really easy for work fiction to impress me. That's why I tend to consume a lot of nonfiction and other genres. But I must admit that this one has truly surpassed my expectations. Written by the English author and journalist Matt Haig, who was born in 1975 in England and is known for his fiction and nonfiction works such as The Humans, How to Stop Time, and Notes on a Nervous Planet, The Midnight Library was published in 2020. It takes the reader on an exciting journey of self-discovery, offering thought-provoking themes that are potentially relatable to every reader. So, Thuy, could you share with us how you first came across this book and an overview of the story without giving away any spoilers?
Of course. So I love reading books, like you've already introduced. So I also love watching booktuber on YouTube, and I came across this book on one of my favorite booktuber YouTube channel, and the plot of the book really caught my attention. So the plot is basically about this girl. She's very depressed in her life. So a lot of things happened and she decided to commit suicide. And when she was in between death and life, she was sent to this library at midnight, and that's where the name of the book came from. So in that library, there's an infinite amount of books, and each book represent a life that she could have lived if she'd done something differently. And that's basically the plot of the book.
Yeah, actually, I found the concept of parallel universes to be truly captivating. The notion that each book in the library represents a different version of the protagonist's life, offering a glimpse into the alternate paths she could have taken based on different choices, is incredibly interesting and thought provoking. Um, it invites the reader to imagine all the possible life versions they could have been living if they made different choices, and it makes us reflect on our own book of regrets. So this concept serves as a powerful reminder of the significance of the decisions we make every day and their potential impact on our future selves. Another highlighted theme in the book is the pursuit of happiness. And throughout the story, Nora Seed, the protagonist, had chosen different versions of her life, looking for the one where she would be happy and satisfied 100% with what she had, but she never found it. How do you find the way the concept was examined in the book, and what are your thoughts on Nora's perspective on happiness? What do you think was wrong about the way Nora used to see things?
Before I answer this question of yours, I really would like to touch on like the theme of this book. I really love the theme of multiverse because I think it's such a trendy theme. You can see Doctor Strange, the movie that was released in 2022, or Spider-Man this year. And when I heard the plot, it immediately reminded me of this one movie that I watched, I think, a few months ago, as Everything Everywhere All at Once, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's also about multiverse. So the theme in general, the multiverse theory is definitely, like you said, intriguing and interesting. So that really caught my attention to like read this book. And to your question about Nora's perspective on happiness, I think at the beginning of the book, that's what led to her suicide. She was she was like too focusing on the past mistakes that she made and her regrets. So she couldn't really focus on what she had at the time. Like she couldn't really know how to like be grateful for things that she had, and that really led to many like her depression and eventually her suicide.
Yeah, uh, yeah. I mean, we often believe that we would be happier if we had made different choices, and we weigh ourselves down with regrets. But the thing is that we can never know whether something will work or not until we experience it firsthand. And since we cannot experience everything, it's important to find contentment in what we already have. I mean, you can get the perfect job, be married to the person you love, and be very wealthy and famous and still not happy. And this proves that nothing guarantees happiness in life and that it's something that does not come from external circumstances, but rather from within ourselves. It is our perception of the world and our approach to life that truly matter. And this is beautifully illustrated in the journey of the protagonist. And this is what I loved the most about the book.
Yeah, I agree with you. And out of all the movies that about multiverse that I've watched, one big lesson that I've learned is like it doesn't matter what universe you're in. There's always regret about something. You think that oh, I would be happier if I did that, but when you actually in a universe where you actually did that, that's something that you didn't do, and then you regret in that universe. So I think it's like maybe in some universe that person wished to be you right now in this universe. So
Yeah. Also, there is a misconception that most of us have that we are meant to be constantly happy all the time and satisfied with everything we possess. And I find this idea very unrealistic and can cause us to overlook important moments in our lives. That's why we should shift our focus from what we lack in life and from those potential versions of our lives to appreciate the things we already have and our current reality. It is important to recognize that uh, running away from negative emotions is akin to avoiding life itself. Because the moment we accept that we are meant to experience the entire emotional spectrum, everything becomes easier to handle. Um, I mean, there will be moments when we feel happy, loved, positive, confident, and hopeful, as there will also be times when we experience sadness, loneliness, despair, fear, and insecurity. And we know the value of positive emotions when we get to experience negative ones. Personally, this idea made it challenging for me to accept my life or the things that happened to me for a long period of time. But then I realized my mistake and came to acknowledge that life is actually made of ups and downs. And I learned to appreciate the hardships and difficulties because they have made me stronger, more confident, and resilient. And without them, I wouldn't be the person I am today, nor would I have reached a deep understanding of life or accomplished what I have achieved so far.
right. I think that's kind of like a yin yang situation where you have to experience darkness to understand the value of light. And yeah, absolutely. Like the one thing that you said, like you have to look at what you have now and appreciate that instead of focusing on things in the past because we can't change things in the past. And the only thing that we have control is now, like things that we have now.
Definitely. The heroine shows through her story the importance of living with purpose and how important it is to follow our dreams. What are your reflections on this idea and how does it resonate with you?
I would love to think of that as you know like when you live without a purpose or a dream, it feel like you know like that feeling when you walk on sand. It's feel very like the sand. It feel like it's holding you back. It's really hard to walk on sand. If anyone have ever walked on sand, they would know. And when you live a life with purpose and dream, it now it feels like you walking in a swimming pool or underwater. Not underwater, but you know what I mean. It feels like water is pushing you forward, you know, like, and that's how I feel when I live like my life with a purpose or a dream. It just feel like the whole universe is like helping me to achieve my goal. And even though I still have to put into effort, but it's just feel like easier,
Indeed, pursuing our dreams is very important, but we must acknowledge that we may not always achieve what we desire exactly as we want or as we envision it. And sometimes unexpected outcomes that occur without our deliberate intention can turn out to be far better than our crafted plans. And I've experienced this many times. So moving on to the main characters or even the supporting ones, who was your favorite character and why?
Well, I would say Norris Seed, but I feel like Norris is the main character, so it would be almost like everyone's favorite character. But for me, also I would choose something different. So I would choose the librarian. The reason why I like her, or she's my favorite character in the book, because was kind of like a mentor to Nora Seed. She was just there. She wasn't. She didn't say much because she wasn't supposed to review much about the whole concept of the library. Nora Seed was supposed to figure it out on her own. But sometimes the librarian, she gives very good advice in order to see that it keeps her moving forward. So that's what I love about her. What about you?
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing for me. It's the librarian because Mrs. was so kind. She was there for Nora when she was going through a tough time, and she's wise, trustworthy, and reliable. So I believe every one of us needs a Mrs. in their lives, someone to remind us of what matters in life and who helps us see when the vision is not clear. I like Mrs. Because I don't know, there are some people that make you feel safe and comfortable. So yeah, she was my favorite character. How about the ending? Did you find it satisfying, surprising? How did you feel about it?
I love the fact that the ending is very hopeful and it's bright. It's just not, a lot of my friends, I also recommended this book to a couple more of my friends, and a couple pages in, they would tell me that, hey, Tweet, like, the book is depressing, like, she's so sad, I don't want to read it. But I always guarantee them that, it does get better as you go. It does get more hopeful and it gets brighter. And that, like, I'm very satisfied with the ending.
Yes, I love the ending as well, because the gist of the book lies in the ending itself, and it conveys valuable messages and life lessons. Also, one of the things I really liked about the book is the writing style. I feel transported into the story's world, like I was part of the story, and this is what makes a good book for me. A book that makes you feel things, because we may forget about information we read in a book. We may even forget important details and what the story was about, but we never forget how a book made us feel. And personally, I'd rather learn less and feel more than be bombarded with information and feel nothing.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. Like, I also think a great book, that's what makes a book a good book, because when you read a good book, you feel like you're a sort of like a companion of the character, and you're moving along with them on their journey, and you feel what they feel, and that's just a very wonderful thing, because you get to live somebody else's life that you would never be able to live if you did read a book.
Yes, definitely. So, moving on to our favorite quotes in the book, uh, one of my favorite quotes is when Mrs. Alm and Nora Seed were playing chess in the library, and then Mrs. Alm said, "You need to realize something if you are ever to succeed at chess. And the thing you need to realize is this: the game is never over until it is over. It isn't over if there is a single pawn still on the board. If one side is down to a pawn and a king, and the other side has every player, there is still a game. And even if you were a pawn, maybe we all are, then you should remember that a pawn is the most magical piece of all. It might look small and ordinary, but it isn't, because a pawn is never just a pawn. A pawn is a queen in waiting. All you need to do is find a way to keep moving forward, one square after another, and you can get to the other side and unlock all kinds of power. I'm saying that the thing that looks the most ordinary might end up being the thing that leads you to victory. I mean, the quote is it has a very interesting lesson because life is like a game of chess, and as long as you breathe in, there's always hope, and there are always a lot of opportunities, and life is never over until it is over. How about you? I'm curious to know which passage or quote resonated with you the most.
Um, so about your quote, I love it too. I'm not like I don't play chess, but I kind of like know the basic of chess, and I think that's a great message. You know, like sometimes we forget how powerful little things can be, and yeah, I love that message too. So about mine, it was actually like the author quote from another philosopher, and his name is Henry David Thoreau, and the quote is, "It's not what you look at that matters; it's what you see." And I think that single quote, I think it was repeated throughout the book, right? And
Yeah.
really, I feel like it really sums up the overall message of the whole book, because I remember how at the beginning the author describes Norseed as a black hole, and you know the image of a black hole, it sucks everything in. There's no light in it. It's very dark, depressing. But at the end of the book, the author describes her as a volcano. What interesting about a volcano is like it's a site of destruction. It destroys people's lives and their houses and stuff around it. But after a few years, after the eruption, a few years, the lava will turns into fertile soil. And from that fertile soil, you can have plants, you can have flowers, and you can have so many other beautiful things that grow on that lava. So it's like a destructive thing. It becomes something that fertile, like things can grow on it. So it's interesting how at the end of the book, Nora Seed is still living the life that she has always been living, but her perspective has changed so much that the way she sees life also changed. She no longer sees herself as a black hole, but now she sees herself as a volcano, even though she's still living the same life. So it's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the this idea is the main idea of the book, and the philosopher was mentioned many times in the story. And it shows the quote shows the importance of the way we see things and of our perspective in life.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we reach the end of this episode, which I really enjoyed, let's recap the key takeaways. Thuy, why should you recommend this book to our audience, and what makes you believe that they should read it?
So I would highly recommend this book to people who are like, you know, who really like you're wallowing yourself in your past regrets or your past mistakes. I would highly recommend this book to you because I think to a degree you can relate to this book, and maybe you can, you know, walk away with some good lessons, or you know, or if you a totally happy person, you can still read the books because this is a great read.
Yeah, I highly recommend it as well because it will change the way you see things and it's filled with hope. Thank you once again for joining me today. It was an absolute pleasure to have you, and I look forward to having another engaging conversation in the near future.
Thank you so much for having me today, and I hope I'll see you. I hope you will invite me for another time.
Of course, it would be a great pleasure. All right, dear listeners, that concludes today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. If you've read the book or have any thoughts or suggestions you'd like to share, please leave a comment below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to enable notifications to stay updated on our future book reviews. Until next time, take care and stay tuned.